Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the more powerful and scarier cousin of the Stormtrooper, the Death Trooper. Death Troopers were an elite variant of the Galactic Empire's Stormtroopers, specializing in stealth, espionage, and lethality. Operating under Imperial intelligence, they served as protective detail for significant Imperial officers and members of the Tarkin Initiative, as well as Special Assignment Commandos. They wore black suits of body armor and specialized helmets with vocal scramblers, micro-motion sensors, and heads-up displays with data on enemy and friendly positions on the battlefield. Death Troopers were trained in unarmed combat, heavy weapons, demolitions, improvised weaponry, guerrilla warfare, and marksmanship. Experts at covering their tracks, Death Troopers left little to no evidence of their missions. Identifiable by their distinct black armor, Death Troopers struck fear in the heart of anyone who crossed the Empire. History. Age of the Empire. Death Troopers were named by Emperor Palpatine himself to capitalize on rumors about a legendary Imperial military Department of Advanced Weapons research project to revive necrotic tissue, which ultimately resulted in the creation of uncontrollable undead troopers sometime between 1 and 3 ABY. Early, during the construction of the Death Star above the planet Geonosis, Governor Wilhoof Tarkin was accompanied by a squad of Death Troopers to Scarif to confront Darth Vader's breach of security. After Tarkin confronted Vader, Vader was ordered by Emperor Palpatine to uncover who was responsible for several sabotage attempts on the Death Star's construction. After arriving on Geonosis, Commander Orson Callan Krennic greeted Vader on a landing pad with a number of Death Troopers. An assassination attempt was made on Krennic and Vader as an explosion sent a pile of rocks crashing down on the Imperials, crushing several Death Troopers. Despite the attempt, Vader investigated and eventually learned that a rogue Geonosian hive, led by a Geonosian queen, were responsible. Vader and a contingent of Death Troopers then fought in a skirmish in the Korakani Mound, killing the saboteurs and the queen. In 13 BBY, a squad of Death Troopers accompanied Director Krennic to Lamu. There they demolished the Urso homestead and took Galen Urso to complete his work on the Death Star. One of the troopers killed Urso's wife, Lyra, and the squad attempted to find his daughter, Jyn Urso, with no success. Growing rebellion. During the early days of the Rebel Alliance, another squad of Death Troopers served under the command of the 7th Fleet's commander, Grand Admiral Thrawn. Sorry, that THR hit the mic pretty hard. They assisted Thrawn in capturing former ISB agent Callus, following the latter's discovery as a rebel spy, and held him during the Battle of Atollon. In the later part of the battle, the squad accompanied Thrawn to Chopper Base in an attempt to capture senior Alliance officers such as General Jan Dodonna and Captain Hera Syndulla. However, the rebels were able to escape with a mystical force being called the Bendu. When a mystical force being called the Bendu attacked both the Imperial and Rebel forces. On Thrawn's orders, the Death Troopers concentrated their fire at Bendu, wounding him and sending him crashing to the ground. In 1 BBY, a squad under Commander DTF-16 accompanied a Kyber crystal shipment and several technicians aboard freighter 2716. A After departing from Phayos Station, DTF-16 and her squad came under attack by partisans under Saw Gerrera and Spectres Urza Bridger, and Sabine Wren. DTF-16, her squad, and other troopers were then left behind by the Spectres and were destroyed, along with Captain Slavin's Star Destroyer when the Kyber crystal they were escorting exploded. A Death Trooper, DTL-21, was stationed at Jothal. There he commanded stormtroopers when they discovered that the Spectres had returned. He, his Viper probe droids, and troopers searching the sewers for the Spectres. Troopers searched the sewers for the Spectres to no avail. The Death Troopers then accompanied Grand Admiral Thrawn and Governor Bryce to the Imperial airfield to watch a test flight of the new TIE D Defender multi-role starfighter elite. When Bridger revealed himself, the Death Troopers were ordered by Thrawn to secure the TIE D Defender. However, they lost when Wren stole the fighter. Several Death Troopers then assisted Governor Bryce and Rook in pursuing Syndulla when Jedi Knight Kanan Jarrus rescued her from the Imperial complex. The Death Troopers were able to catch Jarrus and Syndulla. Two Death Troopers then accompanied Minister Ferris Hyden as the Empire and Mining Guild were excavating Lothal's Jedi Temple. They assisted Hydan in interrogating Wren, striking her in the head. However, Wren was able to knock one out when Captain Garizeb Aurelios rescued her, stealing his blaster in the process. Several Death Troopers were stationed at the Imperial complex. With Rook, the Death Troopers fought the rebels and attempted to stop them from reactivating the shields. They were taken out by Captain Aurelios. The remaining Death Troopers of Thrawn's guard were with him aboard the Chimera and were taken out by Bridger before the ship was taken by the Purgil to an unknown location. War. 1 year later, Death Troopers would continue to escort Krennic during the Death Star's initial testing stage at Jeddah and during his trip to Iadu. Krennic would later deploy his Death Trooper squad during the Battle of Scarif when they fought rebel ground forces that had infiltrated the planet. They managed to annihilate the remnants of the rebel strike team. However, the entire squad was killed by Baze Malbus and Cassian Andor shortly before Krennic's death. In the aftermath of the Battle of Yavin, Death Troopers served aboard Hive Base 1, a secret space station made by the Tarkin Initiative, serving under Commander Ewell. Ewell's Death Troopers fought Dr. Afra's crew and their prisoner, Rebel General Hera Syndulla, until they escaped. They were killed when Hive Base 1 was destroyed. Several accompanied Lieutenant Inspector Magna Tolvan on Coruscant. Following the Battle of Hoth in 3 ABY, a squad of Death Troopers accompanied Administrator Sly Moore when she traveled to Mustafar to oversee a mission being undertaken by the Sith assassin Ochi of Bestoon. The squad surrounded Ochi with their blasters trained, as Moore commanded him to verify his job to assassinate Darth Vader had been completed. After the Empire. Approximately 9 years after the Battle of Yavin, a squad of Death Troopers served in an Imperial remnant led by Moff Gideon. The troopers opened fire on a cantina on Navarro, killing the client and several stormtroopers while also trapping the Mandalorian, Greef Karga, and Caracynthia Dune inside. I had no idea that Kara was short for something. The standoff was interrupted shortly after, with IG-11 arriving to assist the Mandalorian and his comrades. As the group fought their way out of the cantina, a fierce battle ensued, with two Death Troopers resorting to hand-to-hand combat after they were disarmed. With the fight raging outdoors, several Death Troopers circled around to breach the cantina and attempted to flush Cara Dune out with saturated blaster fire. The remaining Death Troopers escorted Moff Gideon as he gave the order to burn them out. Legacy. During the Cold War between the Resistance and the First Order, Agent Terex of the First Order Security Bureau had possession of a Death Trooper helmet aboard the Carrion Spike that was displayed next to the helmets of an Imperial Royal Guard, an AT-AT pilot, a Coastal Defender Stormtrooper, and others, along with a custom set of armor. The helmet of Trudgeon, one of the Knights of Ren, contained a section of Death Trooper helmet, indicating that he defeated one at some time. Not having read or watched anything from, well, anything except the movies, I have a hard time with them calling the war between the Resistance and the First Order a Cold War. Cold Wars are fought between two powers using proxies. And they were definitely shooting at each other in the movies. So, I must be missing some piece of information. Training. Death Troopers were elite stormtroopers in the Galactic Empire's military. Stormtrooper candidates who excelled at their training were reassigned to the advanced Death Trooper camp on Scarif. Death Troopers were required to meet rigid physical and ideological standards, with height and weight standards that exceeded typical trooper averages. The candidates were also subjected to a battery of physical tests and classified surgical enhancements, making them somewhat beyond human. Additionally, Death Troopers had to complete rigorous training in exotic environments to be stronger, faster, and more resilient than the norm. Other specialties included unarmed combat, heavy weapons, demolitions, improvised weaponry, guerrilla warfare, and marksmanship. In the field, Death Troopers operated in small groups, with each trooper specializing in a specific skill set. Shortly before the Battle of Scarif, General Sotoris Ramda requested to be returned 2 platoons of Death Troopers as their training camp on Scarif needed more instructors. Ramda preferred veteran Death Troopers with body augmentations at version 1.01 or earlier. Equipment. Death Troopers were equipped with advanced armor considered an improvement over the standard Stormtrooper kit. The helmet featured a number of advanced sensors and targeting systems to give total situational awareness of combat areas, enemies, and allies. These various upgrades to the helmet system included a NeuroSav macro motion monitor, multi-frequency targeting and acquisition sensors, and image-intensifying active pulse emitters, the latter of which was stored within the 2 green dots at the bottom front of the helmet. The helmet also included voice scramblers, which allowed them to speak in Death Trooper encryption, which made their communications impossible for anyone except other Death Troopers to understand, along with adding to their intimidating appearance. Death Trooper armor was covered by a spray polymer called Reflect, which warped electromagnetic signals commonly found in sensor arrays. This made Death Troopers well suited for stealth operations. Underneath their armor, troopers wore an environmentally sealed bodysuit. Death Trooper pauldrons on their right shoulder denoted rank, but appeared black and featureless to individuals if not viewed through a Stormtrooper visor. That's actually super cool. I'm really into that. That's a great idea, because if you have the chance, you always want to kill an officer, right? If you have an opportunity to take a clean shot, you want to pick out the guy who's in charge and kill him. So, hiding their rank in a way where a rebel would never be able to know, unless they had a stormtrooper helmet, obviously, but they're not going to be able to know. That's really cool. That kind of inures them to effective ambush, because you can only kill the guy with maybe the biggest gun. You won't know who the sergeant, or if they have a commissioned officer or lieutenant or whoever. That's great. I'm really into that. Death troopers were equipped with a variety of tools and weapons depending on their specialties. On their chest, death troopers strapped on an IM-40 3-slot ammunition and tool pouch. Weapons commonly used included the SE-14R light repeating blaster, E-11D blaster carbine, DLT-19D heavy blaster rifle, DLT-19 heavy blaster rifle, and smart rockets. Grenades included the C-25 fragmentation grenade, beradium thermal detonator, a sonic imploder, or a thermal imploder. Behind the scenes. The first footage of a Death Trooper was shown in the Rogue One, a Star Wars story trailer teaser on April 7, 1916. Yeah, that would be something. 2016. According to the Us Magazine Collector's Edition Star Wars Rogue One article, Going Rogue, the Death Troopers were comparable to and inspired by the United States Navy SEALs. And that is the end of the article, actually, aside from an appearances list, which is really quite long, and mostly expanded universe stuff. Actually, entirely expanded universe stuff. Yeah, I like these guys well enough. They don't suffer from quite as much, I'll call it lore creep, as the stormtroopers do. Just because they're not in as much stuff, they're a relatively new part of the universe. So there's been less time to just like pile shit onto them. I think the hidden rank thing is awesome. I love that idea. Obviously, generally stormtroopers, if they have rank denotion, it is hidden, with the exception of, I think it's squad leaders that have the orange thing. I guess it's a pauldron. It's kind of just like a, it looks like bulletproof material or something, but it just sits on their shoulder like that, which I think you only see in the movies in episode 4. But yeah, I love that idea. I think these guys aesthetically are badass. They look sick. And if you've ever played Star Wars Legion, they're really quite fun to use. They're the most effective infantry you can take, unless you're doing, swarm tactics. And they've got access to pretty cool weapons. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.